Hello, friends. Welcome to another edition of HPA-Global Insights. Today, we are welcoming our good friend Andrew Shao. He is the Senior VP of Global Scientific and Regulatory Affairs for Niagen Bioscience. Andrew, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Doing very well, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Very cool. So you've been around, we've known each other for a long time and
Yes.
seen each other at different shows and whatnot, but some people maybe have not had the pleasure of meeting you. Can you kind of give us a quick introduction to your life in the supplement realm?
Sure, sure. Happy to do that. It's hard to believe, but I've been in this industry now 25 years. It's shocking, actually. Yeah, I got my PhD in nutrition way back in 2000 and went right into industry and worked for different companies, ingredient companies, MLMs, trade association, right? Something you're familiar with. So I worked at CRN. I think that's where probably you and I first met when I was working for CRN and I was over in China. And I think we had dinner or something in Beijing, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so toiled around the industry in different settings, mostly in science and regulatory, government affairs. As well, and found myself here with Niagen Bioscience, formerly Chromadex, and that's going on 6 years with the company.
All right. So
So
you
that's
just
a little bit on me.
I introduced you, working for Niagen Bioscience, and you just touched on that. So a lot of people that do know you or know the brand and the products that you create, it was always Chromadex. That's
Sure.
how I've known the company for a long time. So can you just touch on a little bit the name change?
Yeah, so many folks in the industry know Chromadex. They know Frank Jacks, who's a good friend, colleague, co-founder of Chromadex back in 1999. And if you go back that far, you know that Chromadex was founded as a reference standards and analytical testing lab, service lab, basically, way back then. And we actually still sell some standards now, some reference standards now. But between then and now, the company's gone through a series of major changes, a total metamorphosis from really a standards company and then evolving to an ingredient company and then evolving to a consumer brand, which is TruNiagen that we'll probably touch on a little bit later. Um, but as Chromadex kind of kept that legacy, if you will, of a reference standards analytical testing company, because when we see folks around in the industry, oh, yeah, that's right. I used to buy reference standards from you, or you tested our product. And we're evolving into this consumer brand and actually expanding our business further into the pharmaceutical side. And
Hmm.
so it really made sense that we transitioned the name to fit more of the focus of the business, which is more as a biotech company than it is as a reference standards provider. And the other thing, of course, is trying to build brand awareness. And so that's why we focus the name of the company around our flagship brand.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm no stranger to evolving. We've had to do that with trade wars and COVID and all these things. The association world has had to kind of change quite a bit to stay
Yeah.
relevant. So that's definitely something I'm familiar with. Um, so you guys are unique in that your mission is really based on or focusing on NAD plus.
Yes.
And so, how did that come to be? Kind of that spins right out of that kind of Chromadex reference standards and then moving on into something else.
Sure. I think it starts with Frank Jack's vision. Let's say well over 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, when he first learned about nicotinamide riboside and was first learning about NAD and the ubiquitous role NAD as a coenzyme, essential coenzyme it plays in every cell and tissue in the body. Um, that's going back years before there was this intense interest by the research community in the importance of NAD and age-related diseases. Frank had the vision back then that this was going to be something special. Um, and it wasn't until our current CEO, Rob Fried, arrived at then Chromadex, now Niagen Bioscience, that what Rob envisioned is building really the whole company around NAD. So when we describe ourselves, we are not a supplement company. We are an NAD company that happens to today generate the majority of our revenues from selling a dietary supplement and ingredient. But we envision a time where we are boosting consumers, people's, patients, pets, NAD levels using a variety of modes of administration. It may be injectable, it may be infusible, it may be oral, it may be topical. Today our flagship products is nicotinamide riboside, but there are related compounds in the pipeline. So what we see ourselves is an NAD company, not a supplement company. And I think it makes sense given the important role that the coenzyme has. And now you're seeing it. Now you're seeing the interest from the research community, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but there's an intense interest, not just from the research community, but from, biohackers as well that are interested in aging, right? Or preventing aging.
So that leads me into my next question. I just wanted to touch on it a little bit and throw this out there because we haven't really talked about it, but it's one of those things that you see pop up outside of our industry a lot. And you just mentioned biohackers, anti-aging, the word anti-aging, and I see,
yes.
And I've heard and see on your website that you guys don't really talk too much about that. You're talking more about health span.
Yes.
Just touch on that a little bit.
So, what we believe is, of course, there's intense interest on aging, extending lifespan, if you will, preventing aging, reversing aging. There's a huge amount of interest. We're very interested in that as well. I don't know how you can't be. The majority of the population, the world's population is, over the age of 65, and that's just going to continue to skyrocket. And everything that comes with that, right? Age-related disease, comorbidities, healthcare costs, lost productivity, costs to the economy, you name it. There's macro and there's micro issues as a result of a accelerated aging population. So everybody's interested in this. We're interested in as well. And we do know there's a link between NAD and aging. We know that NAD declines with age, and that our ability to replenish our NAD levels declines with age. And so it's a natural fit to investigate whether NAD could extend lifespan. I think that so far, anyway, there isn't anything convincing that will actually reverse aging. What we do think there's lots of evidence for, and that goes with healthy lifestyle or with augmenting your NAD levels, is extending that period of time where you are healthy. I'm thinking in my mind, if I had a slideshow, I'd be showing you this figure that the WHO puts out, where they have intrinsic capacity or resilience on the y-axis and age on the x-axis. And they have this curve where it's flat, it's flat, it's flat, and then it crashes at the end. It sort of falls off a cliff. And that's the optimal trajectory for your health span or your resilience, right? Is that it's extended for as long as possible, and then you just sort of, your time is up. And that's that period of time that I think is feasible and that we really want to extend, is the time that you are actually healthy, as opposed to focusing on merely extending the time that you're on the earth for. It's extending the amount of time that you have quality and healthy life and a vibrant life. And there's a lot that goes into that.
Sure.
But we do believe that NAD plays an important role in extending health span or resilience or intrinsic capacity. These are all terms we use. I think they're all synonymous.
Yeah, I think that there's a few different people I've listened to and I've heard from that and the way I've kind of absorbed it was equating it to age 0 to 125. And if we do everything perfect, we have good genes and genetics, we exercise, we eat well, we take supplements such as NR, things that can help us have a longer health span and a healthy life, that we could reach, 100, 110, what we could reach over that. So some people would, say that like, well, that's anti-aging. No, I don't think so. It's healthy aging. It's
Right.
getting, like you had just touched on. It's like getting, do you want to, live to 90, but from when you're 50 years old to 90 years old, you can't walk and you've got aches and
Right.
pains and you've got no energy and you just feel
Right.
terrible.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think, the good news is that we're all on a trajectory, right? The one I referred to. Well, what you want to do is maybe keep that slope from being too steep. There are things you can do. You can intervene to try to change that trajectory, right? And you can
Sure.
intervene, of course, through diet, through lifestyle, stress reduction, better sleep, supplements as well. As a general rule, supplements, but certainly NAD supplements, I think, or NAD boosting can play an important role in helping you. Not the only thing you do, but helping you maybe reset your trajectory to one that helps to extend that period of health span.
Yeah, that reminds me of my mom. I was talking to her the other day and she had just a mild cancer. I don't want to get into it too much, but the doctor told her because of the way she lives her life, he's kind of guaranteed her. He says, you're going to die with cancer, not because of it. And she's already 85 years old. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's an interesting way to put it. It's like a lot of people are going to die with problems, but not because of them, which is
yeah.
interesting.
That is interesting.
Um, so research is I've always known you guys to be, one of those companies that does tons of research, and you do have an
Yes.
external kind of research program.
Yes.
You allow people to play with your toys and see,
Yeah.
what kind of fun they can come up with, which is really interesting. So tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Again, this is something that Frank Jacks came up with when he was exploring how do we generate research on our ingredients, our ingredient portfolio that we're looking to try to build a business on. But we're not a pharma company at the time. We're not a biotech company. We don't have seed money to invest 10 years worth of research to validate ingredients and then go out and generate revenue. And so he came up with this model, and maybe not incredibly unique or exclusive, but it's something that has expanded tremendously since 2013, which is to make our ingredients available to investigators who are interested, and they have their own funding. They have their own questions they want to test, their own study designs, and what we do is provide the test material that they use in their intervention studies, be it preclinical or clinical. And initially, it was just, yeah, whoever calls, we're going to provide the ingredients. But it's gotten more sophisticated over the years to a point where, there's a lot involved in the agreements that we have with different investigators. And now it's expanded to the point where we have over 300 of these that we've executed
Wow.
since 2013, over 300. And these are with investigators and research institutions around the world. And what we do is we make the material available in most cases at no cost. Most of the research is third-party funded, meaning it's through grants that the investigators secure. It's not paid for by Chromadex or Niagen Bioscience. Some of them are. There are a few that we do choose to fund, and most of them are not. They're independent. But through this program, we call it the Chromadex External Research Program, or CERP, CERP for short. We've been witness to the evolution of research in the NAD research community. I can't say that this has been verified. Maybe you want to go verify it, but I think that we have had, from a company standpoint, the most impact on the research of NAD as a single company than any other company in this space in the world. Because you're talking 300 research agreements. There's over 175 preclinical studies that have been published with our flagship ingredient, Niagen. We're now at 40 human clinical trials published using Niagen. And so we're contributing to tremendous amount of knowledge accumulation in the NAD research community. And what we've seen is investigators first coming to us, wanting to do studies, preclinical studies, animal studies, basically. And we've seen that evolve into human studies, looking at a lot of age-related or NAD metabolism-related diseases and conditions. A whole host of them. Really, really fascinating research, because investigators understand that disruptions in NAD metabolism and mitochondrial dysfunction, DNA misrepair, are at the root cause of a lot of age-related diseases.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was just going to say that. Excuse me, but a lot of companies will that do spend money on research. A lot of times, it's kind of validating the kind of the same thing. Like, our ingredient is for fill in the blank, and then you just keep throwing research at it to validate that one thing. But I've seen over the years, NR from you guys being researched for a variety of things, like what you just touched on, that are related to that mitochondria and energy. But for a variety of different things, that's like, some of them are like, wow, that's amazing. That it could be utilized, or it's being researched for that and not this.
Yes. Well, I think it ties back to the ubiquitous role that NAD plays in all cells and tissues of the body around mitochondrial function, energy generation, DNA repair, cellular repair. And it's those tissues that are most metabolically active or energetically demanding.
Sure.
They tend to be affected the most when there are disruptions in NAD metabolism. So think about the brain, think about the heart, think about the liver, the kidney, the skin. These are all heavily NAD dependent organs and tissues. Mm-hmm. And so typically where the research interest starts in how do we mitigate these diseases, and that's where the investigators are, and the governments are investing in grants and research, and they're coming to us, and that's how we're able to learn about this. What we've seen, again, from a lot of Frank Jack's vision initially, is how NR, nicotinamide riboside, was such a potent and efficient NAD precursors, because there are other ones, right? I mean, these are this is a form of vitamin B3 that has been, B3 has been around for years and years and years, in all different products and different forms. But there are some drawbacks from some of the other forms of vitamin B3. So NR emerged as one that is perhaps the most efficient and effective, and has garnered a tremendous amount of interest from the research community as a result of that.
Yeah, I saw recently, luckily we're out of that whole COVID thing, but there's been talk about long COVID, and I think people are kind of unsure about the symptoms they're having, and is it related to COVID, and these things are still around. And you guys are doing some research with Harvard, or Harvard's using your ingredient, like something like that, for a long COVID study?
Yes, there is a long COVID study that's been completed with Harvard Mass General Hospital, and using Niagen, assessing the impact of Niagen on things like cognition, sleep quality, fatigue, which are issues, as you know, with long COVID. And so the study is complete, and the publication is in process. We're very excited to see what the results are. And there's actually, I think, 30, I want to say, 30 also other clinical trials that are ongoing involving Niagen and looking at different outcomes, like we were talking about before.
Sure.
There's a variety of different ones, and one of them is this area of neurodegenerative disease. So neurons, nerve tissue, brain, very heavily NAD dependent. So when NAD metabolism is disrupted, mitochondrial function is disrupted, it has functional consequences, and there are certain diseases that emerge as a result of that. One of those is believed to be Parkinson's disease. We've been collaborating for probably the past 5 years, I would say, with Auckland University Hospital in Norway, they have been studying Niagen for its impact on Parkinson's disease, and that's another trial that's complete, ended in June, and the data analysis is underway. This is a very large trial, a 400-patient trial of Parkinson's disease patients in Norway who supplemented with Niagen or placebo for a year. And so that is in the process of being analyzed, and we're also looking forward to the publishing of those results.
Well, we'll have to keep our eyes open for both of those. Those are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Sure. And then kind of lastly, TruNiagen is kind of the brand name of the dietary supplement version of the nicotinamide riboside that you guys have. But now recently I've seen Niagen Plus, right?
Niagen Plus, yes.
Okay, so what is that one?
So just to so everyone's clear, so TruNiagen would be the dietary supplement brand, and Niagen is the ingredient that we sell to select other partners B2B. So TruNiagen is the consumer product, right? We sell direct to consumer, available on Amazon, or on TruNiagen.com. The Niagen ingredient is sold as a dietary ingredient to select other business partners B2B. And then Niagen Plus is this whole new area of our business that we've expanded into. And what Niagen Plus is it's a pharmaceutical grade sterile form of Niagen that can be reconstituted in bacteriostatic water and then administered by IV or by injection.
Oh, okay.
And so it's this other mode of administration. Remember, we talked about, as an NAD company, we're trying to find different ways of affecting people's NAD levels because it's such an important molecule. Mm-hmm. And most of the research has been around the oral form, but your gut bacteria, your gut microbes, they love NAD also. And that could be a good thing, actually, that a good portion of what we supplement is consumed by our gut bacteria. So we actually get quite a bit less after the gut bacteria metabolize it. Now, that could be still a health benefit, right? Because a healthy gut, happy microbes and healthy microbes usually benefits the host. So I'm not saying that that's not beneficial. It probably is, but it's different than getting the Niagen NR infused directly because it gets to cells and tissues and produces NAD much faster. Mm-hmm. Kinetically, it's very, very different. So it's a different type of administration.
Well, I know that people in the past, or even now, I mean, people get direct NAD injections, and I understand that they take a very long time, and they can be very uncomfortable, cause stomach pains, or so. What does that happen with Niagen as well? Niagen Plus.
So, thank you for asking that. So, of course, we're very well aware the availability of NAD, at least by infusions in clinics, has been around for many, many years. But interestingly, it's accompanied by pretty extreme side effects, discomfort, a feeling of a heavy chest, bad headaches, even inducing, diarrhea, like there on the spot. And because it's so uncomfortable, it takes hours, many hours to have it infused. It's got to be done at a very, very slow rate due to the discomfort. Not to mention the fact that NAD is a very large molecule. I mean, if you know your biochemistry, when you put charged phosphates on a molecule, in this case, NAD has 2 of them, they can't get across the cell membrane. So it really isn't bioavailable either. And whereas Niagen and NR, of course, and we did a head-to-head study comparing the two, by the way, and it was 75% faster to infuse the same dose of Niagen compared to NAD, and the amount of discomfort was far, far less than compared to NAD. And Niagen, of course, NR is bioavailable. It does cross over into cell membrane. So, frankly, for NAD, whether you take it orally, because there are NAD supplements now, right, that contain actual NAD or NADH as an ingredient, they're not bioavailable whether you take it orally or by infusion. And not to mention, then there's the discomfort associated with infusion.
Yeah, I just envisioned the big truck trying to get under the low underpass. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, there you go. What happens? The top of the truck has to get shaved off, and then the truck can go under, and then you have to come back and put the top of the truck back on. That's exactly what happens in the case of NAD. It gets broken down into its constituents that are then taken up by the cell and then used to produce NAD. NAD it's an intracellular coenzyme. It doesn't really exist outside the cell. So if you flood the body with NAD outside the cell, the body's like sets off alarm bells. Like, holy crap, we must have had some serious tissue damage and all our cells burst open and released NAD, and all these alarm bells go off, and it causes this, inflammatory response that probably is related to the discomfort.
Sure.
That a lot of people feel.
So for people that want to try this out, or people that have done NAD and know that it is kind of uncomfortable for them and they want to try out NR or Niagen Plus, excuse me, how can they do that, or where do they go to do that?
So visit our website, niagenplus.com. And on that website, there's a clinic locator. So you can locate clinics around the country that are carrying it. We launched this a year ago in August. Very, very slow launch, right? A slow rollout because we only had a little bit of material, right? We had to ramp up our supply chain. That's all ramped up now. And on a weekly basis, there's more and more clinics that are carrying it. So you just go onto the website there and find the clinic locator in your area.
Okay.
So it would be in any major city in the country.
Okay. Well, Andrew, I'm going to let you go. We could stay here for a long time, but we don't want to bend people's ears too much on this. Amazing stuff. I have been taking it for a while, and I do really enjoy it. We'll circle back when other things, because there's always something new popping off on NR and you guys, the research you guys do. So we'll touch base again in the future. But thank you so much for joining us and telling us all about the backstory and what's going on currently.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me. I look forward to catching up with you again.
All right. Take care. All right. Those watching, thank you so much for stopping by with Andrew and myself and listening. Any questions? I'll put Andrew's kind of info card at the end there, or you can, email the association directly. Thanks for joining us. Take care. I decided to do a little fact check on my friend Andrew and asked ChatGPT the following question: what company has had the most impact on NAD plus research? ChatGPT answers, great question. A handful of companies and academic labs have been pivotal in NAD plus research over the past 20 plus years. But if we're talking about industry players with the biggest impact, a few stand out. Number one, Chromadex or Niagen Bioscience, TruNiagen. Biggest commercial driver of NAD plus research, holds key patents around nicotinamide riboside NR, a vitamin B3 derivative that boosts NAD+, has invested heavily in clinical research with universities and independent labs. TruNiagen has been used in dozens of published human trials, making Chromadex one of the most influential companies in NAD+ science, period. So Andrew was 100% accurate in his beliefs that they were and continue to be the biggest influence on NAD+ research.